Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today for our summer program workshop. My name is Amanda Carr, and I'm the engagement specialist. And I have with me Ebony Stevens, who is our student support coordinator for Region 2. And we're going to be presenting to you today on our summer program. Just a few notes before we get started. You can use a microphone for better sound quality, and in order to ask a question, just simply type it into the question pane on your screen, and we will choose the order of questions and answer them towards the end of the broadcast today. So I just wanted to thank you all for attending and for signing up for our summer program. We're really excited about it. This year our focus is on reading and ELA, which most of our students do need help with. So again, thanks, and we really do appreciate it. The first thing I want to do is start with a poll question, and it's basically just to get a sense of what did you do when you were a student in elementary school, middle school. What did you do when you were on summer vacation? Just a second. The poll is open now. You can select any of the answers there. All right, just another second. All right, we're going to close that poll and we'll show your answers. Okay, great. So it looks like a lot of you did special activities with your family. You read books. That's the top one. Or actually, played with friends is the top one. Of course, everybody did that. But then second was reading books. So that's great. And just to know that a lot of our students don't have those opportunities. Okay, so we're going to talk about why.
Reasons why summer tutoring is so important. It's very important that you continue to meet with your student while they are on summer break. This is the perfect time to review what they've learned in the previous school year, also to get a jump start on the material that's coming. So we see that 80% of economically disadvantaged children lose reading skills over the summer. So that's one of the main reasons why we are doing the summer program. Here you can see how not reading over the summer can affect students' test scores. The good news is that access to books can have a very positive effect for low-income students.
Great. So you can see, how important this is and, what impact we can make over the summer. I know it can be a struggle to get students to want to participate, but I know that you are already doing the best you can to get your students excited about selecting a book and getting started with our program. So we'll talk a little bit more about how to get students invested. So I just want to go over some of the basics from the program. So our main theme this year is getting students to think about making connections. So that's why the program is called Making Connections. Students that make connections are going to really be much more engaged with the book that they're reading, and they're going to understand more of it. So we're going to ask that tutors teach their students how to make connections both to their own lives, to other texts, and that can be anything from another book to, even TV shows and movies could be another text, considered another text. Poems, something that is another piece of art, basically. And also the world. So, why do books matter? Why does what we read and how we compare it to what's happening in the world, why does that matter? Why is that important? Why is that an important skill? That's really going to be critical for our students. And they're going to be at different levels. Maybe they've heard about this in school. This is taught in school, usually starting in elementary school, but they may not have been exposed to this concept at all. So it's important that we teach them why it's important to make connections and how to do that. And secondarily to the making connections portion of the program, we're also going to ask that people that are working with students in kindergarten through 7th grade do one of our ELA assessments with the students at the beginning of the summer, and then the same assessment at the end of the summer to see if they have improved on any topics. So you're going to do an assessment, and then you're going to target 2 to 3 areas where you need help, where your student needs help. So once and I'll talk a little bit more about this later on, but our assessments are right there on the summer program page. They're easy to access, and you can just go in, do one with your student, and then you get the responses back. You'll see if they've gotten the answers correct or incorrect, and that might help you focus on areas to, so for instance, maybe rhyming words is an area where your student needs help with, or maybe there's really need help with punctuation. They don't understand where to put a period, or maybe they need help with run-on sentences, that kind of thing. So once you have designated those areas, when you work with your student over the summer, it'll be up to you to kind of really push those 2 to 3 areas and make sure that when you're doing a writing exercise that you're checking in with your student and making sure to focus on that, those places where they need help. Okay, so I said a little bit about making connections and why that's important. And one of the things that is really significant here is that it can actually allow students to read beyond their measured reading ability. So you might have a student that's at a lower level, maybe they are a grade or 2 behind, but if they're invested in their book and they're making connections to it, they can actually, it will help them to comprehend. So skilled readers do this constantly and unconsciously. You might think about the way you read a book and how you might be comparing it to things in your own life, maybe something that you would do or would do differently than the main character, or maybe the setting is familiar, or maybe something in the world is explicitly referenced. But struggling readers are going to need a little bit more guidance, and that's where our program comes in. So these are the 3 types of connections, and this handout is actually also available on the summer program page, which I'll show you in a second. So you can bring this handout to your students and go over it with them so they understand the kinds of questions that we're going to be asking. So you can see there, those are some examples of questions that you might prompt your student with. This reminds me of the time when, I went to camp and I met my best friend, or whatever, whatever happens in the book, or a text-to-text connection. So I actually have the example for a text-to-text connection, like if, say, you're reading that Pride and Prejudice and Zombies book, right, that it was kind of a silly rewriting of the original classic. Well, you might think of, okay, well, why did they choose to update this classic? A lot of books have explicit references to other books, and that's called, the term is intertextuality, but that's something that we explicitly, we don't even think about, but we experience as we're reading. And then the text-to-world connection, of course, is like this is happening in real life. Something like George Orwell's 1984. If you were reading that book, you're going to make connections between, what Orwell is saying about this totalitarian society and our own society, right? So that's something that you're already doing as a reader, and we want to really help and reinforce that with our students. Okay. So as far as the general outline, what the program is going to look like, we have a couple weeks till we officially get started, but the first official week of the summer program will be the week of the 19th of June. So in the next couple weeks, we're going to be getting your books and getting them to you, and I'll discuss that in a second. But you might think now about your assessment if you're working with a student in grades K through 3. And the reason that we've separated these out is because in K through 3, you're going to be working at a slightly different level than older grades. And so there's actually different lesson prompts for K through 3 and 4 through 12. And I'll show you that in a second. But so if you're working with a K through 3rd grader, think about doing an assessment within the next couple weeks. You can even do that early and pick your focus before the 19th. But then once the week of the 19th rolls around, you're going to be introducing the book to your students, so giving them the book or books. If you're working with a kindergarten or first grader, you'll probably get a couple books from us to work with them. Maybe you just want to give them one to start, and you're going to be selecting those skills to improve. The 2nd and 3rd weeks, there's going to be reading, there's going to be writing and discussion prompts. 4th and 5th weeks, reading, and then we have some making connection prompts. And then in the 6th and 7th week, you can do some more reading, maybe with a second book. And we're going to be also doing a final project for this program. The final project I'll talk about in a second. But the goal for the final project is just to get your student to do something fun and creative and really get excited about the book. So we want them to maybe draw a picture. We'll talk about that in a second. But something that is going to engage them and get them interacting with what they're reading about. During the 8th week, you'll do a follow-up assessment with your student to see if they have improved on the skills that you selected. And then we're going to give you a little bit of a buffer there, so the final projects will be due. That's the email. The email is everywhere, so it's summer@School on Wheels. It's easy to remember. That's where you can pretty much send any of your correspondence, any of your questions about the summer program. And that's where you'll send your students' final projects. Then we're going to actually have voting for the final projects. So those will be up on our website, and you can actually do that with your students. So have the students select 2 to 3 entries that they enjoy. And when they win, there'll be prizes. We'll talk about the prizes in a second. So if you're working with a 4th through 12th grader, it's slightly different. I mean, the schedule is, the overall schedule is the same, but you'll have slightly different lesson prompts. For grades 4 to 7, we do also want you to do an assessment if you can with your student, early in the program within the first week or so. Select skills to improve. If you're working with a student who is in 8th through 12th grade, we don't actually have physical assessments for those grades because it's actually really hard to narrow down skills that they should know. They should probably be, at that level, they're supposed to be pretty fluent in reading. That's not necessarily the case, of course. So what we want to do with those students is look back at material that they might have gone over in the year and had trouble with. So you can look back at, English homework from the previous year, tests from the previous year, anything that maybe the student thinks that they need help with, like I really, I don't know how to use commas and I really want to work on that. Or, whatever the case may be, other kinds of punctuation or grammar issues. So you'll pick 2 to 3 skills with them as well. Then you can kind of see the outline there. We're going to start with text to self, move to text, and then go to text to world. And you'll also be working on a final project with the students. And last, if you're doing an assessment with the 4th to 7th graders, we're going to ask you to do a follow-up again. The final projects, again, are due on the 18th. Okay. So I see that some questions are coming in. Is there anything that we should answer now before we go on? We'll hold the questions then. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to talk, Ebony's going to talk a second about the creative project.
All right, so we're going to ask all the participants to do a final project, and this final project is very open for creativity. You can either draw a picture, paint a picture, write a poem, song, or a rap, turn a scene into a play, do a video. It's really open. We want you and your students to be creative and have fun with it. For the younger students, we ask that you maybe pick a couple of options and present it to them and let them choose so it's not as open. And you're going to email that to summer@schoolonwheels.org. Students are going to vote for their favorite, so it's not going to be us. It's going to be a student poll. They'll vote for it, and then we will announce the winners. And the incentives for our students, so the winners of our contest will, for high school, they will receive a $50 Amazon gift card. Middle schoolers, they will receive 4 movie tickets. They can share amongst whoever they want to. For elementary school, they will get a $30 Shakey's gift card. And someone will win a tablet. It'll be a wild card.
Yeah. So anybody that enters a final project submission will be entered to win the tablet, and that'll be a random drawing. That won't be based on the poll. So we're not quite sure what the tablet brand will be yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we have that. And then this is really something to share with your students so they get excited about the program and that they know that they can win something. We also are probably going to have a small little prize to go to everybody, maybe like a $5 at McDonald's or Domino's or who knows, or a little fidget spinner we don't know exactly what the prize will be yet, but it'll be something small, but something that everybody will receive. Okay, so if you're registered for the webinar, you already kind of know how to get started. You've already selected a book, maybe. I am still waiting to hear from a few of you about book selections. So if you do, you can actually email me directly. I think you received the summer program webinar email. If you respond to that, I'll get that. Or you can email the summer at School on Wheels with your selection. Make sure that we get that as soon as possible so that we can order the books. Some of you are going to have the books mailed directly, and that's why we've asked for your address to be updated in the database. But if for some reason we are unable to do that, they might have to be distributed by regional coordinators, and we're going to have to contact you on a case-by-case basis. So in one way or the other, you'll be receiving your books in the next couple weeks, ideally the week of the 12th before the summer program begins. Okay, and I just want to briefly just take you to our website to show you what it looks like. So this is how you actually get to the website. You're just going to go to our programs bar and go down to summer program. Click on that and it will take you right here. Okay, you'll see the Making Connections program. It will give you, kind of a summary of the steps like we've just gone over and show the prizes and, the dates. And then you'll see that there's a K through 3rd guide and the 4th through 12th guide, and also general resources. So I'm just going to scroll so you can kind of get a look at it. So it's broken down by week. And you can see that there are some video resources, there are questions to ask students, here Making Connections activities, and of course if you come up with your own activities, that's fine too, as long as they're about making connections, that's perfect. And then you have the 4th through 12th weekly guide down here. So you can kind of look those over at your leisure. I would say, log on to the website after the webinar is over and check it out, so you can kind of get a sense of what it's going to be like. You can also see down here the general resources. We have a handout for parents. You are actually able also to download the parent handout directly from the webinar. There are 2 handouts. There's the parent handout and also the book list if you haven't yet made your book selection. So that's the gist. You can check out the program a little bit more specifically. Okay, and then you're going to do an assessment with your student, as we mentioned. Okay, with your K through 7 student. So at your next session, it would be great if you could speak with your parent or guardian, your student's parent or guardian. A lot of students drop out of our program over the summer. Sometimes parents think we're only a homework club and that they don't really see the need for tutoring over the summer because there's no homework. Well, this is a good time for you to talk about the program and maybe give them the handout and say, hey, we're going to be working on these reading skills that are really important for students. It's going to be fun. Students get to pick out a book. They get prizes. Whatever you think is going to appeal to your student and their family, it's really important to get them excited. And if the parent or student does want to take a break, just check in with your regional coordinator. Let them know that the parent and student wants to take a break. They could maybe talk to the parent and, if they really do want to take a break, maybe you'll get paired with another student. Okay, great. And so this is just a summary of our steps here. And we're going to take any questions now. I know one person asked if you missed the webinar, if it will be available. Yes, I'm going to make sure to send it to everybody after the fact, so you'll get it today or tomorrow. You can watch it again. We'll also post it online, so it will be in our workshop library. You can refer back to it with, if you have any questions. So some questions are coming in. Okay, what's the parent handout? Where's the parent handout? The parent handout should be available on your control panel. So it's one of the handouts you can download if you see, it says there's a little section that says handouts, 2 of 3. It says it's the summer program handout new. That's the PDF. You can download that right there. Parent handouts available in Spanish. That is thank you so much for bringing that up, and we'll immediately make one. Yes, I'll make sure to get that up on our website. Okay, so if my student reads at a higher first grade level, but is going into 3rd grade, what age book should I pick? Well, again, there is no hard and fast rule. Some of, I think probably a grade, a 3rd grade or a 2nd grade will give them a little bit of a challenge, especially if it's a book that they are going to be engaged with. So check out our 2nd and 3rd grade book selections. It's better to, give them a little bit of a challenge than to do something that's too easy and that they're just going to be, not learning anything from. And you can also read to them, of course. So, you might want to just read each week with your student, read out loud, and then have them read out loud to you. And you can work on any of the vocabulary that's difficult for them. They can go over, you can look up words that they don't know or teach them how to understand it from context. My student is completing 3rd grade. Should I go by the 4th grade program guidelines for her? Yes, if you're completing the 3rd grade, I would go probably with the 4th grade program, I would say. Natasha? It really depends on the student. You could do either or. My instinct is to say give them a little challenge and push them up. But if they're at a lower level reading, you might want to stick with the 3rd. So, why don't you try to suss out your students, see how they're doing with the prompts from the 4th through 12th grade, and if you need to drop down, then you can go ahead and do that. If your student has a specific book in mind that's not on our list, that's fine. As long as it's appropriate for their grade level, you want to get the, if they have the book already or if it's, easily available from the library, that's no problem at all. We can also order it for you if you want to do that. And we are going to try to order 2 copies of the books for the older students so that you can, as the tutors, can read along as well, because if you're talking about the book at each session, it's probably going to be beneficial for you to have done the reading so you also know what the student is talking about and if they're actually reading or not. Any other questions? Okay, question about assessments. Student is finishing the 3rd grade. I would do the 3rd grade assessment with them. The assessments actually span 3 grade levels. So we've added questions. So each, if your student is in the 3rd grade, there's going to be questions from 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 3rd grade in there. And the reason is because some of our students are very behind, and you might want to see if they are, really at the 3rd grade level, or if they are a little bit behind, maybe reading more at a 1st or 2nd grade level. And that's what our assessments will tell you. So I would definitely do the 3rd grade one, and that will give you that span of grades. Does anybody else have any questions? Going once, going twice. All right, perfect. Well, I hope that means that we've explained the program. And if you do have questions, of course, make sure to email me either personally at responding to one of those emails that we send weekly, or you can email the summer program, summer@School-on-Wheels. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with your student and being a dedicated tutor over the summer. We will be checking in with you guys on a weekly basis to help you along and to answer any questions. So we're here. Again, send in your book orders if you haven't yet, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you again. Take care.